Elizabeth Schulze joining us now. And Elizabeth, with this mother arguing her health is in imminent jeopardy, how quickly might the Texas Supreme Court act on this?
The court has given no sense of a timeline here of whether it will allow the lower court's decision to stand, permitting Cox to have an abortion. And this is just the beginning of cases appealing directly to courts for the right to an abortion in states where it's banned. A woman who is 8 weeks pregnant in Kentucky has just filed a similar lawsuit.
Yeah, and the woman in Kentucky has asked for a class action lawsuit, meaning all pregnant women in Kentucky who wish to have an abortion should join her lawsuit. I mean, this is crazy. Is this America? What the hell country are we in? I've never seen anything so bizarre in my entire life where a woman who gets a near fatal diagnosis for her a fetus at 20 weeks, a woman who has had 2 children before, a woman who has had 2 C-sections, a woman who they say could have a uterine, her uterus will explode basically if she's forced to have another cesarean section. And the court says to her, yeah, okay, you meet the criteria. Like, first of all, why are we as people going to court to ask the court for permission to do anything at all with our uteruses, with our uteri? Why are we having to go to court to ask permission to do anything at all? Where does the pro-life part of this come in to this pro-life thing? Because I don't see it. Okay, so here we are having to go to court with a medical emergency, an emergency. And we have to ask the court to please recognize that we're having some emergency and to intervene on our behalf before we die. And the court is saying, the lower court said, yeah, okay, we will. And then you have an attorney general who, obviously, the attorney general of Texas is dirty. Obviously, this man should have been removed years ago for his securities fraud. And now he's got protection because the courts are packed with people who think just like him. And he actually sends a letter to hospitals near Houston, where where Kate is, this woman, Kate, and tells the hospitals, if you help her, what? If you help her, remember the penalty is life in prison. Life in prison for a doctor. If a doctor performs an abortion that the Texas law says is illegal, then the doctor goes to prison for life. For life. And so she couldn't get help without this court, and the court said, yes, please help her. And then Paxton sends a letter to the hospital to the doctor saying, don't you dare. What kind of a country are we living in now? Is Ken Paxton the mullah? You have to go before the mullah now, and you have to plead your case to the mullah. You know, if she pled the case that she was raped, that wouldn't do anything. In fact, she would be responsible for being raped. This is really where the country is going. You understand? This is really how autocracies work. This is really how Christian nationalism is playing out. This is really how religious tests are now being applied to people who are pregnant, to people who are gay, to people who want to read a book, to people who, I really thought this was over. I thought this story about this woman was done. I thought it was sick enough and twisted enough that she had to actually go to court with a medical emergency and present. Like, who has the money? Never mind the time, okay? Who has the money? So here's the lesson, okay? And this is another thing, and I keep telling you, Jessica was here, for the holidays, right? And now she's gone about her business to, have Christmas with a non-Jew. You know what I mean? So anyway, and I had to, explain to her, and she gets it. I mean, she's a grown woman, that she cannot be pregnant in Florida. She can't be pregnant in Texas. She can't be pregnant in Kentucky, because God help her if there's an emergency at 20 weeks or an emergency at 24 weeks or some sort of an amniocentesis or an ultrasound that shows that this child, if it's brought into the world, would suffer and die in pain. And she has no choice here or in Texas or in Kentucky or in any. You understand that this woman is now leaving the state of Texas, okay? She still wants her case to go forward. She still does. God love her. I mean, she is brave and she is tough, but she's been in bed for the last 3 days. She's already been to the hospital with this pregnancy like 2 or 3 times, and it's not viable. And what she would sacrifice is a person would be born and the person would have to die in writhing agony, number one. Number two, she's forfeiting her fertility. She wanted to have a big family. She's got 2 kids. She wants to continue to add to her family. That's her own damn business. If obviously they're in a position where they can afford to do it, because here she is with lawyers. I mean, so before you get pregnant now in this country, you have to have millions of dollars for legal fees or hundreds of thousands of dollars for legal fees? This is the issue that Americans don't want to deal with. They want to deal with stuff over there. No, deal with what's going on over here, because what's happening over here is exactly opposite world of what you think you have here. And in a 1-page order, the Texas Supreme Court actually said that it was going to prevent her from going to have the abortion, quote, without regard to the merits of her case. Without regard. They just put a stay on it. And when time is of the essence, and usually in a medical emergency it is, how do you disregard the merits? How do you say, okay, so the bodily function that she's sacrificing at the altar of religious zealotry is her fertility going forward? She has to risk losing her uterus to please Ken Paxton and his ilk in a free country? So now she says she's leaving the state. Well, you know that they're urging people to use that vigilante law that Texas has, that if anybody helps her, including her husband, if anybody helps her leave the state for the purpose of terminating this unviable pregnancy, they'll get 10 grand.
Clear for takeoff.
Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.